Hey.
What you want to say about the baby?
Good time, baby.
For 4 days, more than 200 people searched the woods, roads, and fields of Aiken County, South Carolina, trying to bring a 4-year-old girl home alive. Her parents pleaded for help finding their daughter, 4-year-old Shavia Harris, who they said had vanished from the yard of their home near Hillsborough Street and Ridgecrest Road. Helicopters, drones, state troopers, FBI agents, and volunteers all joined in, combing an area that stretched across thousands of acres. But according to Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer, that desperate search was built on a lie. Investigators now say Javier had already been dead for at least a month before anyone dialed 911.
We are following a developing breaking news scene, which is over in Aiken County. That's where deputies there say that they are searching for a missing 4-year-old little girl. That's a photo of her right there on your screen. The Aiken County Sheriff's Office says there is right now a very large law enforcement presence in the area of Hillsborough Street and Ridgecrest Road. This as deputies are searching for that missing child. She is 4 years old, last seen wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, Crocs, and pink braided hair. Anyone who sees this little girl right there on your screen or has any information about where she is, they are urged to immediately call 911.
Out of Aiken County tonight, the FBI is now part of a search for a missing 4-year-old girl. According to the Sheriff's Office in Aiken County, Javia Harris was last seen around 8:15 last night. On social media, the FBI says authorities are canvassing the girl's neighborhood, collecting security video, and searching with helicopters and drones. We will continue to bring you updates on this story as we learn more.
Been more than 24 hours since this 4-year-old little girl was last seen.
39 Hillsborough Street, 39 Hillsborough Street.
The alert
4-year-old pediatric missing.
from a dispatcher in Aiken County just moments after the 911 call.
20-30 minutes ago, wearing a pink Minnie Mouse pajamas.
Javea Harris believed to have wandered away from her home. What that caller told 911 over the phone is what deputies say this expansive and exhaustive search has been based on. Knocking door to door in neighborhoods through the night. Today, from the air and on the ground, it is a search that continues. There is a growing list of concerns tonight. Among the temperature and humidity little Javea could be lost in. And perhaps the biggest question, at just 4 years old and not even 4 feet tall, how far could she have gotten? Hello, everybody. We begin tonight following that local breaking news alert out of Aiken County, where it has now been more than a day since Javea Harris was reported missing. That was her picture you just saw right now. Sydney Hood standing by. So many people want to know how can they help tonight, and the best way is taking that picture of this little girl and sharing it however you can, whether that is taking it from our social media, from our website, from the Aiken County Sheriff's Office social media, putting it on yours and spreading the news that this little girl is missing tonight, last seen on Hillsborough Street near Ridgecrest Road, wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, Crocs, and she had pink braids when she was last seen. The search on your screen, where this map is zooming into, north of the city of Aiken, south of I-20 in this neighborhood, that is where law enforcement has converged for the last almost 24 hours. They used bloodhounds, canines. They were in the air with a sled helicopter, with drones, and door to door, including through the night. That is where they knocked to ask, has anyone got any information about where this little girl could be? That tip line there on your screen, 803-502-5200. No tip, we were told today, no detail in this case is too small for you to pass it along. They are needing a break tonight there to find this missing 4-year-old little girl, Javea Harris there. We were first last night to tell you about this story. We were first to be there on the scene. There has been a command center at Bethel Baptist Church in Aiken County, and that is where Sydney Palmer is tonight. She has talked to the pastor of that church. Sydney, I thought it was iconic when you were there with us earlier. I was there with you earlier, I should say. To hear that pastor's story about having a meeting today, a congregation was coming together to celebrate the 4th of July, and how that changed. A church that opened its doors not for its congregation, but for a community of law enforcement on a very specific mission.
That's right, Brett. As you can see behind me, the scene has kind of started to close, but one community member, like you mentioned, Pastor Stan Adams, really stepped up today. He got here around 1:30 this morning. He found out that his church was going to be the command center late last night and didn't really think much of it. He just thought they would be using his restrooms, but he ended up getting here this morning around 1:30 and stayed throughout the entire search today. And they were meant to have a 4th of July celebration as a part of their congregation, but because the parking lot was completely blocked off earlier today, he decided to pivot and instead used those hot dogs and 4th of July decorations that he had to kind of lift up the crew and law enforcement agencies that were searching for 4-year-old Javea Harris today. And even though he was able to provide and lift spirits just a little bit for that brief moment, Javea Harris is still missing. What is typically a place of fun and fellowship has a different feeling this evening as the search for 4-year-old Javea Harris continues.
They called me this morning at 1:30 and come and open the fellowship hall so they could have restrooms and a cool place to get and those kind of things, and of course water and all that. So I've been here since 1:30 this morning.
And over 24 hours later, amid brutal heat, this little girl who's not even 4 feet tall is still missing. The Aiken County Sheriff's Office, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, FBI, and other law enforcement agencies have been working since Tuesday night to locate this little girl. And as the hours tick on, so does the urgency.
And I plan on having just a word of prayer with them real quick, thanking them for their efforts and asking God to direct and continue through the night, to continue to direct, and that we'll be able to find this little girl.
And like Brett mentioned, it's been over 24 hours since 4-year-old Javea Harris went missing, and the search has kind of calmed down tonight. They'll be back here in the morning, but Aiken County is asking that communities stay out of this area just so that they can make sure that they're being as effective as with the search. But if you know anything about this 4-year-old little girl, Javea Harris, give the tip line a call.
And Cindy, we certainly expected that wind down of this search tonight. Law enforcement told us it was going to happen. It certainly looks dark behind you, but no point have they given up in this search. They told us that they were going to scale down, not anything like we saw 24 hours ago when we were telling you there was a helicopter above with FLIR, an infrared camera, drones in the air. That search has been extensive, exhaustive. They have essentially done what they could there in that neighborhood. And sitting behind you, I can tell you from being out there with you, they have built a cell phone tower in that parking lot. It's iconic that that pastor said he was there to open it up. That is ground zero for this search now tonight, if you will. That parking lot is not open to the public. I can tell you deputies are there with police cars. They will not let you near there. That is where the command and control hub for this search is, and where they are sharing critical information with each other in this case. Sydney, thank you for your reporting there. We will check back in with you later. Anyone, again, concerned, so many concerned parents, and absolutely this has to be the worst nightmare for any parent. So many people asking what they can do to help here tonight. And law enforcement telling us that what you can do is take that picture, however you get it, and put it on your social media. Get the word out in case this little girl, Javea Harris, just 4 years old, she is not even 4 feet tall and barely weighs 40 pounds. In case she has made it somehow outside of that area where they are searching, they want her picture everywhere tonight. She was last seen there in that neighborhood, not far from where Sydney was just reporting, just about half a mile where that command center tonight is set up. That little girl last seen at 8:15 last night. You are looking live there. And while it does look empty tonight, this is what we were told to expect. This search is not over, with countless members of law enforcement now devoted to answering the question, where is Javea? I bring in my co-anchor and weather meteorologist Emily Acton here with me, and we were talking last night as we were breaking this story about, you have been warning for a week now that this heat was coming, that the humidity was going to be here. And tonight, while we were sitting talking about this story before air, we use the words dangerous and potentially deadly heat. Your heart breaks for anyone who cares about this little girl, and for the idea that if she did just wander off and she is somewhere there in that area they are searching, the conditions that she has been through today.
Yeah, it's pretty intense to think about. And as you were out there, Brett, and you were in the elements, and it is hot, and you had access to water.
Right.
And ways to stay hydrated, and we don't know if she does have access to it.
Correct.
Most likely probably does not. So that's a big factor. And we're not really cooling off much overnight either. So the humidity rises for the overnight hours, makes it a lot more muggy out, and makes it a lot harder to cool off.
Via Harris was just 4 years old. She lived in Aiken County, South Carolina, with her parents, 23-year-old Jo Maria Harris and 22-year-old Michelle Herring, in a home near a chicken coop and wooded areas where she was said to have played. On the evening of June 30th, 2026, Michelle called Aiken County 911 and told dispatchers that her daughter had been outside near the chicken coop and suddenly disappeared. Within hours, the case was treated as a missing child emergency. Local deputies responded first. Then the search escalated to include South Carolina Law Enforcement Division agents, FBI personnel, Case 9 units, and drone teams. Neighbors described being shaken and afraid, joining the search and watching law enforcement block roads and set up checkpoints around the family's home. From the outside, it looked like a community doing everything it could to save a missing child. Throughout those days, the parents appeared as grieving mom and dad in the story. Parents who, authorities said at first, were desperate to get their little girl back. But inside investigators' files, a very different picture was already starting to form.
The girl who disappeared out of Aiken County has ties to the upstate. Deputies say Javea Harris disappeared on Tuesday.
And tonight, Arshel Ramin is speaking with a woman who used to be the little girl's neighbor in Union County.
Well, Sydney, this neighbor used to live in the exact same apartment complex as Javea and her family. She says the neighborhood would take turns checking in on this little girl and her well-being. Despite all of that manpower deputies have on the ground in Aiken County, she says something in her heart is not sitting well back here in the upstate.
She real sweet and she real timid. Like, if she don't know you, she's not gonna just walk up to you or nothing like that.
A sweet 4-year-old little girl has sparked national headlines as her disappearance out of Aiken County has now reached more than 2 days.
As a parent and a grandparent of young children, this investigation hits close to home. We know that this family is living a nightmare, and we are doing everything we can to bring Javea home.
The Aiken County Sheriff saying about 200 specialized law enforcement officers have now completed their main grid search, an effort of more than 3,000 acres.
We've been supported in that by helicopters, drones, and dogs. The FBI is on scene assisting with analytical data, and they have trained personnel on the ground who specializes in investigating missing children cases.
We're on the phone with Miss Young, a woman who knew the family after living nearby at an apartment complex in Union.
When they moved away, everybody's number one concern was, where is she taking this baby? Where is they going?
Authorities say the 4-year-old's mother reported her missing Tuesday night, last seen near a chicken coop, a detail not sitting right with neighbors we spoke with.
When they say that the baby left out their yard, that's unbelievable, because anytime her mama left her in the house for days, all the time for hours.
While the sheriff's office describes Javea as talkative and friendly, Miss Young says she didn't like to wander, but to stay in her comfort zone.
She real sweet. She would not cross the road. She won't walk by herself. Nothing. She like to hold people's hands when she walks. Even when she walks to the refrigerator, she still want to hold your hand.
At just a little over 40 pounds, deputies say Javea was wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas and Crocs when she vanished.
Different neighbors around in the same apartment complex went and got this baby, fed her, bathed her, put her on new clothes, and sent her back home. So it wasn't just me. It was different people in the neighborhood that noticed the same exact thing.
Now, the Aiken County Sheriff says the greatest thing to do for this family right now is to continue to pray. They have digital billboards up of little Javea, and there is a tip line set up for anyone with information about her disappearance, which you can see right there on your screen. Sydney.
Over the next 4 days, the search for Javea intensified. Crews expanded the search area to cover more than 3,000 acres, using drones to scan from above and K-9 teams to work the ground. Roadblocks were set up to limit traffic near the family's home, and law enforcement asked residents to check their properties, sheds, and wooded lots. Sheriff Marty Sawyer held press conferences updating the public, and news outlets carried his statements live as he described the massive effort to locate a 4-year-old believed to be missing. He explained where teams were searching, how many agencies were involved, and what investigators needed from the community. Residents and volunteers showed up to help, many of them strangers who were moved by the idea of a small child lost somewhere in the woods. Social media posts shared Javea's picture, repeated the details of where she was last seen, and asked anyone with information to come forward. On the surface, this was still a race against time, a missing child case where every hour mattered. But behind the scenes, detectives were already seeing inconsistencies between the story they were hearing and the evidence they were gathering. Warrants and affidavits later described how the parents' account of what happened changed, and how certain details did not line up with what investigators were finding at the scene and in digital communications. As the search entered its 3rd and 4th days, the focus began to shift quietly from rescue to recovery.
And I said, oh my Lord, there are cops everywhere. What's going on?
They did come to my house and wake me up out my sleep, but it is kind of crazy, I ain't gonna lie, because, I don't know, they really right up the street and there's nowhere to be found, like she's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, we've been out here for 4 years now. We know pretty much most of the people in this neighborhood, their kids, the whole thing. And for the girl to live literally right around the corner, we're out here all the time. Like every day somebody's out here, and we would have noticed a little girl walking this way.
According to court documents and news reports, investigators came to believe that the missing child narrative was not true. Evidence gathered during the investigation led them to conclude that Javea was already dead long before the emergency call. Sheriff Marty Sawyer later stated publicly that authorities believe Javea died at least a month before her mother dialed 911. That single detail transformed the meaning of everything the community had watched unfold. The press conferences, the roadblocks, the volunteers, and the parents' pleas for help. Investigators cited family messages and other communications that raised early questions about what had really happened to this 4-year-old girl. According to reports, some of those messages suggested that people close to the situation may have known more than they initially told law enforcement. Search warrants and affidavits outlined allegations that the story about a sudden disappearance near the chicken coop did not match the physical and digital evidence. Investigators also described efforts to locate Javea's remains, treating parts of the surrounding area as crime scenes, rather than simply search grids. At this point in the case, authorities say they stopped seeing this as a missing child investigation and began treating it as a suspected homicide by child abuse. That shift would soon become public when charges were filed against the parents. Throughout this section of the story, it is important to remember that what we are describing comes from public documents and media reports, and that all of these allegations have yet to be tested fully in court.
Morning. I'm Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer. And we're gathered here, and I'm gathered here with all these law enforcement partners to make the hardest announcement that I've ever had to make in my 36 years career in law enforcement. I'm deeply saddened to tell you that our investigation and evidence leads us to believe that 4-year-old Javea Harris is deceased. It's the outcome that we all feared, and sadly, it's the outcome that we must face. We'll have to face it together as a community. Our search for Javeia drives on. We are continuing to put massive law enforcement resources to work to recover Javeia and bring her home. We all hoped and prayed to find her alive. But it's extremely important to bring her home to her family, and it's important to bring her home for us. We are currently searching an area of interest right now, not in Aiken County, and I am not disclosing where that's at. But I'm sure you understand, if in fact Javeia's body is where we think it is, it's going to be a difficult time for everybody there. And we don't need anybody from the outside of law enforcement, trying to access that area. Today I'm announcing that we have arrested Javeia's parents. We've arrested her dad, 23-year-old Jamaria Harris, and her mom, 22-year-old Michaela Herring, for homicide by child abuse and filing a false police report. Additional charges may be forthcoming. We'll figure that out as the investigation goes further. We have spoken to Javeia's extended family, and we'd ask that you respect their privacy. We can only imagine what they're going through. We put every resource available to find Javeia and to bring her home safely. I want you to pay close attention to these next two sentences. This is very important. Sadly, the night of the 911 call on June the 30th, when that call was made, it was already too late to save Javeia. At this time, our investigation supports that she had been deceased for at least a month. I want to express my sincere gratitude to every law enforcement agency, local, state, and federal, and all of our volunteer fire departments in Aiken County, who stood alongside us this whole journey for the past 3 or 4 days in this heat and long hours. There's too many agencies to name, but I am going to name a few that played the key role and supported the Aiken County Sheriff's Office in this operation. Special Agent in Charge Kevin Moore with the FBI Field Office in Columbia. You'll hear from him in just a minute. Major Patterson with the South Carolina Highway Patrol. Teal with the State Law Enforcement Division. Sheriff Rowland with the Edgefield County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Coon with the Lexington County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Boone with the Kershaw County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Gino Brantley with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. And Chief Baranco and Johnson with the Aiken and North Augusta Department of Public Safety. A big thank you goes out to Paul Matthews and Aiken County Emergency Management, who opened this EOC for us at 4:30 Wednesday morning. And it's been manned ever since then. Aiken County EMS, Lexington County Fire Service, and for all the other sheriffs that's called me this week, offering support, encouragement, manpower, or equipment, whatever we needed. The professionalism, cooperation, and dedication demonstrated by everyone is nothing short of exceptional. Every agency brought valuable resources, specialized expertise, but most of all, an unwavering commitment to bring Javeia home. I also want to thank you, the media, for covering our investigation for helping spread Javea's picture to our community in hopes of locating her. And finally, I want to thank our community from the encouragement, patience, prayers, and support. All that means more to us as law enforcement and first responders than you'll ever know. We received an overwhelming amount of support through shared information, donations of food and water, and countless acts of kindness that reminds us why we are so proud to serve the citizens of Aiken County. I'd like to especially say thank you to Bethel Baptist Church, who's right around the corner from where this started. They opened their doors to us. They provided food, water, restrooms, and probably most importantly, air conditioning for those guys that were out in the woods searching. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Special Agent in Charge Kevin Moore.
Thanks, Sheriff. And good morning. I'm Kevin Moore, Special Agent in Charge of the FBI's Columbia Field Office. And today, a family and this community are hurting from this tragedy, the loss of a 4-year-old Javea. We want to offer our sincerest condolences to Javea's loved ones and to this community. The men and women of the FBI have been here in Aiken County since the beginning, working alongside the Sheriff's Office and our law enforcement partners. With the information we had at the time, we put every available resource into finding Javea. That included dozens of FBI personnel who were part of the searches, the neighborhood canvasses, the digital media review, and interviews. We also had members of the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, the Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team, and our technical experts involved. Whenever a child goes missing, it's a joint effort to find them, and the FBI works hand in glove to assist law enforcement agencies in doing so. It's heartbreaking that we are not standing here with better news. We want to thank the community for all the support, for the tips, and for showing compassion in trying to locate Javea. Thank you to our law enforcement partners. It's truly one team. Now we are all focused on pursuing justice for Javea, because that's what she deserves. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, sir. Now I'm going to take a few questions, but understand this is still an active investigation that we are working as we speak and we stand here. So answers may be limited, or I may tell you I'm just not going to answer that question. So.
When did this investigation change from a search to a recovery? I know that we heard from you earlier this week about it being a missing person search. So where did that change and how did that change?
Well, if you'll remember correctly, when I said that, I also said that there was another team doing an investigation off-site from out there here. After a certain amount of time, when we don't find somebody in a neighborhood that supposedly walked off, I don't want to get behind the 8 ball. The FBI was called quickly. They can always go back home, but I want them here as soon as we could get them. So to give you an exact point, I can't do that. The search team was doing their job. The team here was doing their job, and when we figured out she wasn't there anymore, is when we backed everybody out and focused on this.
You mentioned she had been deceased for at least a month. Can you share how that was determined?
No, ma'am. All right, thank you again. I know it's hot. We will have further updates as they come, either by another press conference or a press release. Thank you.
Both of Javea's parents, 23-year-old Jo Maria Harris and 22-year-old Machile Herring, have been charged with homicide by child abuse. They also face accusations of filing a false police report connected to the missing child call. Separate bond hearings were held, and both parents were denied bond. That means they remain in custody while the case moves forward through the court system in South Carolina. According to reports, their first formal court appearance is scheduled for September 18th. At that hearing and the ones that follow, prosecutors will begin outlining their evidence in more detail, and defense attorneys will have the opportunity to respond and challenge those claims. In South Carolina, homicide by child abuse is a very serious charge, and cases like this can take months or years to fully resolve. There may be pretrial motions, expert testimony, and disputes over which evidence can be presented to a jury. Throughout this process, both individuals remain presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
The homicide by child abuse, it carries 20 years to life if convicted. Based on the severity of the charge and the penalty that it carries, I do not have the authority to set bond. You will have to go before a circuit court judge. The circuit court judge will basically do what I'm doing, but will have the authority to set a bond on you. Sometime within 30 days, you will have that opportunity to go before the circuit court judge. With regards to the filing false police report of a felony violation, that bond would have been set for $5,000, but because it's connected to the homicide charge, I'm going to deny bond. So these two are going to be connected together, and a circuit court judge will hear that. So as of this morning, there is no bond that is set for you. All right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. If you would, just sign an initial where it's highlighted in yellow. You've been charged with homicide by child abuse, which carries a prison sentence, if convicted, of 20 years to life. You understand that? Yes. You have the right to a jury trial. You also have the right and obligation to attend all court proceedings. You have the right to represent yourself and get your own attorney. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, the court may appoint an attorney to represent you. We will start that qualification process today, but it is up to you to follow up. Your case is going to be heard in General Sessions Court. So after today's preliminary application, you will be given an opportunity to meet with the Public Defender's Office to confirm if that's the direction you want to go. Court dates, times, and locations of all future court dates and proceedings will be included in the paperwork that I will give you today. Charges that will be heard in General Sessions Court, you also have a right to a preliminary hearing. A preliminary hearing does not determine if you are guilty or not guilty. It simply confirms that there's probable cause sufficient to move forward to trial with the charges that you face. Understanding all this and the charges and the penalties that you face, do you want to see if you qualify for a court-appointed attorney, or do you plan on contesting these charges by retaining your own legal counsel?
I don't have an attorney or a lawyer yet, but I'm just Can you repeat the question?
Let's just see if you qualify. So a court-appointed attorney. Are you employed anywhere?
Yes, sir.
And where do you work?
DHL Bridgestone.
Say that again for me.
DHL Bridgestone.
get paid weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly?
Weekly.
Weekly. And what do you, on average, bring home every week?
It was my first check. I haven't seen it yet.
So you don't know?
Yes, sir.
All right, besides you, how many of us live in the household with you?
Just me, my girlfriend, and my child.
Okay, does she contribute to the financial status of the house as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also have a first initial court appearance date set up for September 18th of this year at 9 a.m. in the main courtroom at the Aiken County Judicial Center, 109 Park Avenue Southeast in Aiken. So once again, don't try to keep up with all these numbers and dates in your head. It'll be a part of the paperwork that I'll give you in just a few minutes. Remember that you also have a right to request a preliminary hearing, and the paperwork included as well. That you've got 10 days to submit that paperwork, and that 10 days starts today. Now, with regards to the charge, bond, you're here to have a bond set, but this court does not have the authority or the jurisdiction to set a bond for a sentence of a crime that could get you life in prison. So today's bond is being denied, and it's also being transferred to the circuit court, where a circuit court judge will hear this case within the next 30 days, and the circuit court judge will set the bond for the charge. But for now, there is no bond. All right? And I do not qualify you at this point for a court-appointed attorney. So it would be my advice to you to seek legal counsel to represent you as you move forward. All right? Best of luck to you. We're adjourned.
With Victim Services, we are asking that he complies with DSS requirements.
Yes. Thank you, Victim Services. I appreciate that. You comply with DSS's requirements.
Yes.
All right. That's a condition of the bond.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
As of the latest updates, recovery efforts for Javea remain ongoing. Authorities have publicly stated that they believe she is deceased, but they are still working to locate her remains and gather every piece of evidence they can. For the community, this is no longer just a missing child alert. It is a case about what may have happened inside a home long before the search began, and about what it means when people who seem to be begging for help are themselves accused of causing the harm. For anyone watching who has experienced or witnessed child abuse, there are resources available. If you or someone you know is affected by child abuse, you can contact the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-422-403-447-4043. It is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with counselors who can listen, guide, and help connect you to local services. If you want to follow what happens next in this case, from future hearings to any new developments in the search and investigation, you can stay tuned here. Sharing this story is not about shock value. It is about awareness, accountability, and remembering that behind every headline about a missing child is a real little person who deserved to be safe.